You ought to take a job. When you get out here, take a job you love. Don't take a job that you think is going to look good on your resume. Take a job you love. You may change it later on, but you'll jump out of bed in the morning. I mean, when I got out of Columbia, the first thing I tried to go to work for Graham immediately. I offered to go to work for him for nothing. He said I was overpriced, but I kept pestering him. I went out to Omaha and I sold securities for 3 years, and I kept writing him and giving him ideas and doing all these things. Finally, I went to work for him for a couple of years, and it was a great experience. But I always really worked in a job. I worked in a job that I loved doing. And you should really take a job that if you were independently wealthy, you would take. That's the job to take, because that's the one that you're going to have great fun in. You'll learn something. You'll be excited about it, and you can't miss. You may go do something else later on, but you'll get way more out of it. And I don't care what the starting salary is or anything of the sort. I don't know how I got off on that, but there I am. So I do think that if you think you're going to be a lot happier if you've got 2X instead of X, you're probably making a mistake. I mean, you ought to find something you like that works with that, and you'll get in trouble if you think that making 10X or 20X is the answer to everything in life, because then you will do things like borrow money when you shouldn't, or maybe cut corners on things that your employer wants you to cut corners on. Or it just doesn't make any sense. You won't like it when you look back on it. I like businesses I can understand. We'll start with that. That narrows it down about 90%. I mean, there's all kinds of things I don't understand, but fortunately, there's enough I do understand. And you got this big, wide world out there. Almost every company's publicly owned, so you got all American business practically available to you. Now, to start with, it doesn't make sense to go with things that you think you can understand, but you can understand some things. I can understand this. I mean, you can understand this. Anybody can understand this. I mean, this is a product that basically hasn't been changed much. They've added the cherry, but since 1886 or whatever it was, and it's a simple business. It's not an easy business. I don't want a business that's easy for competitors. So I want a business with a moat around it. I want a very valuable castle in the middle, and then I want the duke who's in charge of that castle to be honest and hardworking and able. And then I want a big moat around the castle. And that moat can be various things. The moat in a business like our auto insurance business at GEICO is low cost. To the extent my costs get further lower than the other guy, I've thrown a couple of sharks into the moat. But all the time, if you've got a wonderful castle, there are people out there who are going to try and attack it and take it away from you. And I want a castle that I can understand, but I want a castle with a moat around it. Our managers of the businesses we run, I've got one message to them, which is to widen the moat. And we want to throw crocodiles and sharks and everything else, gators, I guess, into the moat to keep away competitors. And that comes about through service. It comes about through quality of product. It comes about through cost. It comes about sometimes through patents. It comes about through real estate location. So that's the business I'm looking for. Now, what kind of businesses am I going to find like that? Well, I'm going to find them in simple products, because I'm not going to be able to figure out what the moat's going to look like for Oracle or Lotus or Microsoft 10 years from now. I mean, Gates is the best businessman I've ever run into, and they've got a hell of a position, but I really don't know what that business is going to look like 10 years from now. And I certainly don't know what his competitors' businesses are going to look like 10 years from now. Now, I'll name one I don't own. I know what the chewing gum business is going to look like from 10 years from now. I mean, the internet is not going to change how we chew gum. And nothing much else is going to change how we chew gum. And then are there going to be lots of new products? Is it really, our spearmint and juicy fruit and all those going to evaporate? So it isn't going to happen. You give me $1 billion and tell me to go in the chewing gum business and try and make a real dent in Wrigley's, I can't do it. And that's the way I think about business. I say to myself, give me $1 billion and how much can I hurt the guy? Give me $10 billion. Give me $10 billion and how much can I hurt Coca-Cola around the world? I can't do it. Well, those are good businesses. Now give me some money and tell me to hurt somebody in some other fields, and I can figure out how to do it. So I want a simple business, easy to understand, great economics now, honest and able management, and then I can see about, in a general way, where they're going to be 10 years from now. And if I can't see where they're going to be 10 years from now, I don't want to buy it. Basically, I don't want to buy any stock where if they close the New York Stock Exchange tomorrow for 5 years, I won't be happy owning it. I buy a farm, and I don't get a quote on it for 5 years, and I'm happy if the farm does okay. I buy an apartment house, don't get a quote on it for 5 years. I'm happy if the apartment house produces the returns that I expect. But people buy a stock and they look at the price the next morning and they decide whether they're doing well or not doing well. It's crazy because they're buying a piece of a business. That's what Graham, the most fundamental part of what he taught me. You know, you're not buying a stock. You're buying a part ownership in a business. You will do well if the business does well, and if you didn't pay a totally silly price. And that's what it's all about. And you ought to buy businesses you understand. Just like if you're buying farms, you ought to buy farms you understand.
We have to deal in things that we're capable of understanding. And then once we're over that filter, we have to have a business with some intrinsic characteristics that give it a durable competitive advantage. And then, of course, we would vastly prefer a management in place with a lot of integrity and talent. And finally, no matter how wonderful it is, it's not worth an infinite price. So we have to have a price that makes sense and gives a margin of safety considering the natural vicissitudes of life. That's a very simple set of ideas. And the reason that our ideas have not spread faster is they're too simple. The professional classes can't justify their existence if that's all they have to say. I mean, it's all so obvious and so simple. What would they have to do with the rest of the semester?
It's not complicated. I mean, investing is putting out money to be sure of getting more money back later, you know, at an appropriate rate. And to do that, you have to understand what you're doing it in. I mean, you have to understand the business. And you can understand some businesses, but not all businesses. Yep. We never buy something with a price target in mind. I mean, we never buy something at 30 saying if it goes to 40, we'll sell it, or 50 or 60 or 100. We just don't do it that way any more than when we buy a private business like See's Candy for $25 million, we don't say to ourselves, if we ever got an offer of $50 million for this business, we'd sell it. That's just not the way to look at a business. The way to look at a business is this going to keep producing more and more and more money over time? And if the answer to that is yes, you don't need to ask any more questions. But once you're in the business of evaluating businesses and you decide that you're going to bring the effort and intensity and time involved to get that job done, then I think that diversification is a terrible mistake to any degree. And I got asked that question when I was at SunTrust the other day. And if you really know businesses, you probably shouldn't own more than 6 of them. I mean, if you can identify 6 wonderful businesses, that is all the diversification you need. And you're going to make a lot of money. And I will guarantee you that going into a 7th one is going to, rather than putting more money in your first one, it's got to be a terrible mistake. Very few people have gotten rich on their 7th best idea, you know, but a lot of people have gotten rich on their best idea. So I would say that for anybody working with normal capital who really knows the businesses they've gone into, a 6 is plenty, and I'd probably have half of it in what I liked best. We don't care whether companies large cap, giant cap, middle cap, small cap, micro cap. It doesn't make any difference. I mean, the only question to us is, can we understand the business? Do we like the people running it? And does it sell for a price that is attractive? From my personal standpoint, running Berkshire now, because we've got pro forma for Gen Re, I don't know what we have, maybe 75 or 80 billion dollars to invest, and I only want to invest in about 5 things. So I'm really limited to very big companies. But if I were investing $100,000, I wouldn't care whether something was large cap or small cap or anything. I would just look for businesses I understood. Yeah, I've got no idea where the market's going to go. I prefer it going down, but I haven't. You know, my preferences have nothing to do with it. The market knows nothing about my feelings. You know, that's one of the first things you have to learn with a stock. You know, you buy 100 shares of General Motors. Now, all of a sudden, you have this feeling about General Motors. I mean, if it goes down, you may be mad at it. You may say, well, if it just go up to what I paid for it, you know, my life will be wonderful again. Or if it goes up, you may say how smart you were and how you and General Motors have this love affair and everything. If you've got all these feelings, stock doesn't know you own it. Stock just sits there. It doesn't care what you paid. It doesn't care that you owned it or anything. So any feeling I have about the market is not reciprocated.
How worried are you by the declines in the share price of Berkshire Hathaway, the difficulties the company's in?
This is the 3rd time that Warren and I have seen our holdings in Berkshire go down top tick to bottom tick by 50%. I think it's in the nature of long-term shareholding with the normal vicissitudes in worldly outcomes and in markets that that the long-term holder has his quoted value of his stock go down and then by, say, 50%. In fact, you can argue that if you're not willing to react with equanimity to a market price decline of 50% 2 or 3 times a century, you're not fit to be a common shareholder, and you deserve the mediocre result you're going to get compared to the people who do have the temperament, who can be more philosophical about these market fluctuations.
We want things to go down, but I have no idea what the stock market's going to do. I never do, never will. It's not something that I think about at all. When it goes down, I look harder at what I might buy that day because I know there's more likely to be some merchandise there that I can use my money.
There are times when even a company as big as Coca-Cola is too cheaply priced by the market, considering what it's going to do for the shareholder. And there are times when we can figure that out, and there are times when we can't. And the times when we can figure it out, we tend to go in heavily. For many, many months, we were buying as much Coca-Cola as we could buy, roughly a third of the volume trading, every day for months. So we were very aggressive in buying into Coca-Cola. We have to deal in things that we're capable of understanding, characteristics that give it a durable competitive advantage, a management in place with a lot of integrity and talent. No matter how wonderful it is, it's not worth an infinite price. That's a very simple set of ideas.
This concept that because a price is high, it is therefore good, is backwards. And Warren Buffett will clear you of this disillusion. Warren Buffett will tell you, and he is right about a lot of shit, unfortunately, not right in crypto, he'll tell you, price is what you pay. Value is what you get. But most people think that price is value. So they're like, oh, Dogecoin is expensive, must be good now. Nope. It's worse than it was previously. Because now it's less secure. Because now the incentives to attack the network are larger. So it was more secure before you guys pumped the price. Because they don't even have their own miners. They merge mine with Litecoin. And Litecoin security sucks. There's a scene in Silicon Valley where these guys have got their startup that does data compression. And they're talking about how to pay for their servers. And they're going to pay for their servers by getting some users. And they're going to get money from the users to pay for their servers. And the dude's looking at his phone, the VC, venture capitalist guy that gave him some money to get equity ownership. And he's looking at his phone. He's like, oh, whoa. Users? No users. And the founder, the tech guy that wrote the algorithm, did the data compression, he's like, what do you mean no users? And he explains it very clearly and very accurately and very realistic how it really works. And how it really works is, as soon as you get real users, everyone's going to realize that this is bullshit.
Right. Richard, one potential issue, our hosting fees could become a challenge as we scale.
Right. But we can offset a lot of that once we get a few customers and start a subscription revenue model.
What? Revenue? No revenue. I'll call you back.
What?
Why would you go after revenue?
Because to make money?
No. If you show revenue, people will ask how much, and it will never be enough. The company that was the 100Xer, the 1000Xer becomes the 2X dog. But if you have no revenue, you can say you're pre-revenue. You're a potential pure play. It's not about how much you earn. It's about what you're worth. And who's worth the most? Companies that lose money. Pinterest, Snapchat, no revenue. Amazon has lost money every fucking quarter for the last 20 fucking years, and that Bezos motherfucker is the king.
The king.
There's no revenue. No one wants to see revenue. Go.
I just thought that mainly the goal of companies is to make money.
Yeah, no. That's not how it works.
But if you don't get any users, then you're the next big thing. You're the paradigm shift. You could be the next Apple. You could be the next this. And so you always want to have the vaporware. Because vaporware can't disappoint anyone. Vaporware always has the next big thing. OneCoin, that never even had a coin, had huge promises of we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and one day you'll be able to sell it. One day there will be an exchange, and we're going to change everything. It's going to change the world. And it's all this hopium bullshit. And everyone buys this fucking hopium, and they don't sell because they think, oh, well, the big thing's going to come. The big thing's going to come. The dreams, the hopium's going to come true. And then when you actually launch, and when you actually get a couple users and people realize that the projections are totally fucking wrong and there's no way they're going to get that many users at all.
One of the things I've always found is that you've got to start with the customer experience and work backwards to the technology. You can't start with the technology and try to figure out where you're going to try to sell it. And I've made this mistake probably more than anybody else in this room. And I've got the scar tissue to prove it. And I know that it's the case. And as we have tried to come up with a strategy and a vision for Apple, it started with what incredible benefits can we give to the customer? Where can we take the customer? Not starting with, let's sit down with the engineers and figure out what awesome technology we have, and then how are we going to market that. And I think that's the right path to take.
Hex is hitting every single metric that you would want to hit. New users, new engagement, new features. Now you can trade Hex on layer 2 with no fees, like 1 penny fee instead of on layer 1. We ready to hear about some downtime? Kraken, down. Coinbase, down. OKX, down. KuCoin, down. And when I say down, I mean fucking hacked. OKX, founder arrested. BitMEX, founders arrested. Motherfucker, Hex, 100% every day. 100% every day. Works perfect every day. So, we created a system that rewards delayed gratification, which is what all personal development boils down to. Choose the long-term good thing over the short-term thing. And that's all personal development is. Someone wants to talk shit? It just blows my mind. I give away free books, free chat, no ads on my YouTube channel, free everything, free coins, free fucking everything. People are going to talk shit about me, a self-help author trying to get people to quit smoking, quit drinking, quit gambling, quit trading, live better fucking lives. I get messages every day with people whose lives I have positively affected and positively changed. Who the fuck else in crypto gets messages like that? I'm not just helping people get rich. I'm helping people be fulfilled and find wealth and happiness and love in their fucking lives. Is anyone else in crypto doing that shit? No. It's a bunch of assholes out there just trying to pump their own bags. Don't really actually give a fuck about you. So I cannot possibly do more to be a better person. I cannot fucking give more than I'm giving. I'm leading the best life I can possibly live. And people talk shit and it just disgusts me. I believe that the future for Hex is up and to the right. Now, I tend not to make future-looking statements for Hex because I don't think it's responsible to pretend you can predict the future. Hex price has dumped 80% roughly 5 or 6 times. So is it likely to dump again? Yeah, it is. Is it likely to pump as hell again? Probably, yeah. So I'm the person that tells you the truth. I'm the honest guy. Who in a Doge community is like, yeah, man, this shit's going to dump? Who in a Bitcoin community is talking about the pending dump? They're a bunch of shills that just lie to you about shit because they're trying to pump their bags. I tell you the truth, man.